How confident I am in Kaido getting up? I'm fairly... there's... Like, no matter how... Like, okay, so here's what I do, right? So anytime if I'm like, okay, I'm not sure. I don't know if he's going to get up this chapter, but I've already said that, hey, if it doesn't happen this chapter, then I have to say, at least for the time being, look, looks like the raid succeeded, and I have to stop talking about it, right? I hope it's this chapter, so I don't have to go through that. But it's entirely possible it happens the next chapter because next chapter is a break week, right? But for the sake of me not looking as though I'm going to keep on pushing it back and back, I have to pick a cutoff point, which is why I'm picking 1051, all right? So after 1051, if Kaido does not get back up, no indication, no flashback, whatever, no indication that he is, maybe something more is happening with him or that his fate might be up in the air. If none of that is there, then 1051, you're going to hear me shut up about this, basically. Hear me shut up about this. I guess that's what you hear. Me not talking about the raid failing. Me saying that, all right, for the moment, we have to say it succeeded. All right. But anytime I kind of doubt or I'm not sure, like, is Kaido getting back up, I go back and reread things. So I go back and reread things. I also go back and reread things from previous arcs, etc. I'll say this, that one thing that Oda has always done with every major villain. So Arlong, let's go down the list. Arlong, Crocodile, Lucci, Moria, Doflamingo. I think that covers the big ones, right? NL, right? There's always one point that I can point to over the course of the fight where it seems as though Luffy has won the fight. So there's always one point that Oda does with that. First he has Luffy seemingly win the fight at one point, and then he has the villain make a comeback. So with Arlong, this probably works better if I do it in a video so you guys can see the panels, etc. basically. But Arlong, I don't know if you guys remember, but Luffy kind of kicked his ass. Then Arlong kind of woke up, went into this berserker mode where everyone was like, oh no, his eyes changed. He went to like white shark mode or some shit. And then Arlong continues the fight, right? Crocodile, same thing. Luffy kicked his ass in water mode. Then Crocodile got up, right? The chapter had ended with Luffy seemingly having defeated Crocodile with water bazooka or whatever. Then we have next chapter, Crocodile getting back up, turning things around. You can kind of go... I'm not going to go walk through the list for all of this, but there's always a point, right? With Kaido, there was never a point that Kaido... And this might be one of the reasons that people feel like Kaido went down too easily or something like that. Is that there was never a point that... we never hit a point where it kind of seemed like Luffy had like knocked down Kaido once, and then Kaido got back up and turned things around, and then Luffy won from there. But that might be the case in terms of what just happened now. I don't know if that makes sense the way that I just explained it. But basically, over the course of any major fight Luffy has with the villain, there's always a point where Luffy seemingly has knocked down or knocked out or beaten the villain. And then from there, the villain gets back up. And it's kind of like intensity of the fight scales up for a little bit. And then Luffy wins again, basically. With Kaido, there was no point over the course of the fight where Luffy actually knocked Kaido down or had him knocked down in any sense, kind of. You know what I mean? This is the first time we've seen Kaido like kind of... Yeah, this is the first time we've seen Kaido basically seemingly get beaten down by Luffy. And so when people are saying, oh, that feels too easy for Kaido, and people are like, oh, what are you talking about? It's been so long. Part of the reason, subconsciously or not, that you might feel it's too easy is because in the past, we've seen with villains like a Doflamingo, like a Crocodile, like an NL, there's a moment where Luffy seemingly wins, and then the villain gets back up. It's like, oh, shit, he's still going and stuff, and that's hype and exciting and stuff. So it like makes it feel a little more dramatic. Whereas right now, you might not be able to put your finger on it, but it's like, wait, Kaido's done? Oh, so he's just done? Because this is like the first and only time that it seems like Luffy's actually like just beaten Kaido. And it's like, okay, so he's not coming back up. I think just the memory of kind of subconsciously of how One Piece fights, like the flow usually goes and how villains usually feel more dramatic towards the end once it actually is time for them to be defeated. There might be some of that in readers' heads, whether they recognize it or not. But the reality is you've been reading a series where from start to finish, like any major fight, there's usually a bit of a false alarm type moment in terms of like Luffy beat down the villain, but then Oda shows the villain's tougher than that, has the villain get back up. Sorry I spent so long on that explanation, but it's just speaking out loud basically what I've been going back and rereading recently.